Federal government warns hashtag Occupy Lagos protesters, security agencies are ready for them. Central Bank governor faces Senate over cryptocurrency ban. In international news, U.S. House impeachment managers rest their case on third day of Trump's impeachment trial. And in sport, Tokyo Olympics chief steps down amid allegations of sexism.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has confirmed 938 fresh cases of coronavirus in the country, elevating the total number of recorded infections to 143,516. 8 fresh fatalities were also recorded, pushing up the total death tally to 1,710. And CDC also reported at least 118,000 patients have so far recovered and discharged. In the latest figures, Lagos posted the highest number of infections at 236, followed by the Federal Capital Territory with 123. The Nigeria Senate is responding to the recent ban of the cryptocurrency trading in the country by summoning the governor of the central bank, Godwin Emefiele, to clarify the controversies surrounding the ban. The Senate committees on banking, insurance, and other financial institutions, ICT and cybercrimes and capital markets are also inviting the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Lamido Yuguda, over CBN's decision to ban cryptocurrencies exchanges in Nigerian financial institutions. The central bank says its cryptocurrency ban last week was to protect Nigerians and the financial system. CBN says cryptocurrency is largely speculative, anonymous, and untraceable, and that they are increasingly being used for money laundering, terrorism financing, and other criminal activities. The Senate says it is optimistic that a meeting with Emefiele and Yuguda would produce information it could use in determining opportunities and threats that cryptocurrency may hold for the nation's economy and security. And still at the central bank, where the institution has reported a drop of almost $2 billion in the monthly inflow of foreign exchange. A central bank says only $5.7 billion came into the country in November last year. That is a huge decrease compared to $6.4 billion in October and $7.3 billion in September. The bank blamed the decline on a slow global economic recovery and uncertainty in the crude oil market. On the other hand, the central bank says foreign exchange outflow through the economy fell by nearly 25% to $1.9 billion, below the $2.5 billion level in the preceding month in 2019. The federal government has warned those planning to reoccupy Lekki toll gates in Lagos State to desist from such protest. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, says the federal government will not allow the kind of violence that followed the #EndSARS demonstrations last year. He said intelligence reports suggest the demonstrations would be hijacked by hoodlums with the intention of destabilizing the country. The minister said protests are constitutionally allowed only in designated places and not at toll gates. Protesters are planning to reconvene at the Lekki toll gate on Saturday for another demonstration. The minister said security agents are ready to meet them. As he put it, no government anywhere will allow a repeat of the kind of destruction, killing, and maiming wrought by the hijackers of #EndSARS protesters last year. Lai Mohammed says those planning the protest should, quote, shelve it, end quote. It seems like yesterday, but it has actually been 50 years since Nigeria and China began diplomatic relations. And the day was not going to pass this year without being marked, so the Chinese embassy in Abuja staged an event on the occasion.
Officials and stakeholders from China and Nigeria have held a celebration to commemorate 50 years of diplomatic relations between the two countries. In a statement, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari says the country is very satisfied with the progress of bilateral relations between the countries. Buhari has thanked China for supporting Nigeria in various ways, such as the building of rail and road. Since the COVID-19 outbreak, China has been working with Nigeria and other African countries to safeguard the lives and health of Africa's citizens.
Nigeria surpassed Angola and South Africa respectively to become China's second largest trading partner and the largest export market in Africa. At the same time, Nigeria is China's major investment destination in Africa. The Ogun-Guangzhou Free Trade Zone and the Lekki Free Trade Zone have attracted a large number of Chinese companies to invest and operate their businesses.
Over the past 50 years, China-Nigeria exchanges in the fields of humanities, health and safety have been unprecedentedly active. And to support Nigeria's fight against the epidemic, the Chinese government provided 3 batches of medical aid to the Nigerian government. Leaders at the event believe that China and Nigeria have a solid foundation of friendship, and the two countries should take their 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations as an opportunity to continuously push bilateral relations to a new level.
Coming up, African stories. Africa's Center for Disease Control and Prevention celebrates 4 years of helping the continent fight different disease outbreaks. And later, international news, U.S. House impeachment managers rest their case on 3rd day of Trump's impeachment trial.
You are watching AN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. In August last year, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa set up a body to probe corruption in coronavirus-related programs. That investigation was to extend to businesses supplying protective gear. Now, the government is cracking down on corruption in coronavirus programs. Correspondent Yulisa Injamela reports.
An investigation by the Special Investigative Unit, or SIU, into public spending on coronavirus-related programs has found evidence of massive looting. The SIU looked into the procurement of personal protective equipment. It found evidence of serious maladministration. According to the SIU report, at least 1,774 service providers are under investigation for alleged looting.
Actions that we are taking. Firstly, to ensure that the allegations, when they are reported, they receive appropriate attention, investigations are conducted timely, effectively, and the outcomes are reached, as we were reporting now, and ensure that those outcomes are attended to. Consequence management is meted out, so that punishment is also meted out. This will have the effect of ensuring that there is deterrence and that those would be corrupt and those would be maladministrators. A clear message is sent.
According to Advocate Mutibi, many PPE suppliers used different companies as fronts to obtain multiple contracts from the health department, and prices were inflated. In some cases, the markup was as high as 400%. In his weekly letter to the nation, President Cyril Ramaphosa reflected on the SIU report. He said that while the country had grown accustomed to hearing stories about corruption, nothing could have prepared the nation for the lengths that some had gone to in order to steal. The president says what is most disturbing is the willful intent to commit fraud at a time when the country is scrambling to procure PPE to protect people. Some analysts believe that while President Ramaphosa has shown willingness to tackle corruption, the task will be quite difficult because they say corruption is deeply entrenched.
The corruption in South Africa is comprehensive, it is systemic, it is pervasive, and it affects every level of government, whether it's local government, provincial government, national government, state-owned companies. Greed is a moral problem that has been eating up the social fiber, the moral fiber of South African society for quite some time.
Given the level of corruption that we are facing as a country, and then the pandemic that we are trying to fight, you find that people in public offices are putting personal interest. That's corruption. Personal interest before public interest. So it's going to be very difficult for us to tackle this pandemic.
President Ramaphosa has assured South Africans that the net is closing in on those implicated in the corrupt activities. He says the state is now trying to recover the money, and some cases have already been referred for prosecution.
It's been 4 years since the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention was established as a specialized technical organ of the African Union. A health body has been involved in containing numerous disease outbreaks on the continent. Its latest project is helping the continent fight the COVID-19 pandemic. Correspondent Girum Chala has more.
The Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention was established on January 21st, 2017. It aimed to strengthen the capacity and capability of Africa's public health institutions as well as partnerships.
I always characterize the creation and launch of Africa CDC as one of the greatest political innovation that was inspired by the vision and wisdom of our head of state.
2 years before the Africa CDC was created, West Africa experienced a devastating outbreak of Ebola. African Union member states agreed that future epidemics should be combated in a more coordinated manner.
At that time, Ebola had, the continent had just fought a very fierce battle against Ebola in West Africa. And I'm sure they knew that the future was going to be characterized by other pandemics. So they launched Africa CDC. We are really truly humbled, those of us who were called on to be pioneers in setting up the Africa CDC.
Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention attributes its success in the last 4 years to its expert teams, member states and partners.
We are very proud of the team of experts that make up the staff of Africa CDC who are working around the clock in responding and preparing our countries to any health and disease outbreaks. We are also very grateful for the support that we have gotten from our member states and from our partners in ensuring that we as Africa CDC are meeting our mandate.
Africa CDC has been coordinating Africa's response against COVID-19 pandemic. And now, thanks to the Chinese government, the Africa CDC will soon have this state-of-the-art headquarters now under construction. Many say this new HQ will help the Continental Health Organ better serve the people of Africa. Africa CDC has a lot it wants to achieve in the next few years. And for that, it's already equipping itself with technology and know-how from similar CDCs of China and the United States. Observers say Africa CDC's work in the past 4 years has given it the confidence to battle any pandemic.
When we return, international news. U.S. House impeachment managers rest their case on third day of Trump's impeachment trial. And later, sport. Tokyo Olympics chief steps down amid allegations of sexism.
You are watching ANN.
somewhere in the world, every second of the day, news is happening. And of course, Nigeria is bustling with news day and night. That is why ANN doesn't sleep. Our eyes are peeled, wide open, so no story escapes our radar. We stay abreast of world events and happenings at home. We keep you up to the minute in the world of sports. We give you information to stay on top of your investments and all the hard facts you need to navigate your day. If you miss us on air, you can keep up to date on our website and on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. We are ANN, Africa News Network. We do news right in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. U.S. House Democrats rested their case on Thursday in the impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump after arguing that blame for the U.S. Capitol riots on January the 6th rests at his doorsteps. In their second full day of arguments, Democrats' House impeachment managers made the case that Trump's lack of remorse for the violence caused for his conviction. The House managers held in their first day of arguments that former President Trump intentionally pushed the election fraud claims months before his loss when he felt Joe Biden would very likely win. The Democratic managers played a series of audio and video clips, including police communications and security footage that had not been released publicly, detailing nearly minute by minute real-time account of what happened once the Capitol was breached. Now that the Democrats' V0 trial presentation has concluded, the Trump team takes the stage today. The defense team is expected to open its argument by agreeing with the Democrats that the violence was traumatic, unacceptable, and illegal, but it will dispute that Trump had anything to do with it. Germany plans to impose restrictions on travel from the neighbors over concerns about aggressive mutations of the coronavirus. Chancellor Angela Merkel has warned that the mutations will gain an upper hand in the country sooner or later if they are not contained. The German states of Bavaria and Saxony have asked the federal government to establish border controls with the neighboring countries. A meeting is set for today to discuss the next move. Germany restricts travels from countries with high rates of virus mutations, including the UK, Ireland, Brazil, and South Africa. If these neighbors are added, people planning to enter Germany would need a negative coronavirus test result before traveling. Voters in Belarus will get a chance to vote on a new constitution next year. President Alexander Lukashenko has given a hint about leaving power. Opposition members have called his speech empty promises. He has announced that a set of constitutional changes demanded for months by the country's opposition would be drafted later this year. Lukashenko also denounced the 6 months of protest against his rule as a foreign-directed rebellion. Lukashenko and 2,700 pro-government delegates gathered in a special assembly to discuss political reform and socio-economic development of the former Soviet Republic for the next 5 years. No critic was invited. At the meeting, Lukashenko declared that Belarus must remain a presidential republic even after the end of his rule. Lukashenko says the new constitution will require reformatting many laws and changing the legislative base. During the Belarusian presidential election in August last year, election officials declared a 6th consecutive victory for Lukashenko, who has been in power since 1994. His main opponent, opposition leader Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, refused to recognize the results of the vote because of allegations of widespread fraud. U.S. President Joe Biden has cut off funding for the U.S.-Mexico border wall that ranked among former President Trump's highest priorities. Even with this latest development, opinions are still divided over the wall's effectiveness. Correspondent Edisty Johnson reports.
Taken from the Spanish word for walnut trees, Nogales is the common name for two cities separated by the U.S.-Mexico border. In fact, ambos Nogales, or both Nogales, is the way locals historically refer to their sister cities, where crossing a border used to be a daily activity for going to school, work, visiting family, or even shopping. This apparel store on the Arizona side used to count Mexicans as its best customers, but many have stopped coming.
In the times before the wall, the stores were full like this. People could easily cross without anyone even noticing. They would just come to do their shopping and go back. We had no problems, and there was a lot of commerce between the two sides. And now with the wall, the additional security, and all the paperwork, it's become much more difficult for people to cross, and many just don't even feel like coming anymore.
Once a commercial center with hundreds of visitors from across the border, the face of downtown Nogales has changed dramatically over the years.
Nogales has turned into an absolute ghost town following the border closures due to the pandemic. But local business owners here say they've been feeling the economic downturn long before the pandemic, in the early years of Trump's presidency, when he raised border security measures, making it much harder even for ordinary visitors who would normally come here for the day to do their shopping.
But the main intended goal of the border wall was to stop illegal crossings. Some supporters of the former president liked seeing improvements to the wall.
Adding more walls, like making the wall bigger and all that, I think will make a bigger impact from illegals, drugs and all that coming over the border.
But others question its cost effectiveness.
People are going to find ways to go over it. It don't matter how big you make it. It's just a huge expensive that there don't need to be.
According to the local sheriff, illegal crossings still continue, mainly in the more rural areas, and the flow of drugs has not stopped either.
It comes in tunnels underneath the fence. There's a lot of tunnels from the drainage systems underneath the fence. It goes over the fence, and there's ultralight airplanes that are used at night. I haven't seen a slowdown from the fence as far as the drugs coming in.
President Biden paused the construction on his first day in office and asked federal agencies to formulate a plan to redirect border wall funds within 60 days.
Up next, sport. Tokyo Olympics chief steps down amid allegations of sexism. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow this story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. In sport, FIFA President Gianni Infantino is backing an expanded Club World Cup tournament. He says this will boost international competition among clubs. There are 2 Club World Cups being played this year, with Qatar currently hosting the edition delayed from 2020. A 24-team Club World Cup, including 8 sides from Europe, was due to be played in China this year. But expanded competition will now start until a later date after the delayed Euro 2020 and the Copa America tournaments were penciled in for June and July. President of the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games Organizing Committee, Yoshiro Mori, has resigned over his alleged sexist comments that caused an international outcry. Mori says he's resigning because his inappropriate statement has caused a lot of chaos. He said the important thing is for the sporting events to be held successfully. The 83-year-old former Prime Minister sparked controversy after he complained that female members of the Japanese Olympic Committee talk too much. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details of these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a great weekend.